Hello there, everybody. I'm NoSport. I'm one of the early backers of Game Labs' latest game, Ultimate General American Revolution. Today I'm going to be sharing some helpful hints on the character creation screen of the game. If you don't know who Game Labs is, they have created other games like Ultimate General Gettysburg, Civil War, Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail, and Dreadnoughts. Currently for American Revolution, only the US campaign is available on Steam. The first step in the campaign, and this will most likely be the same in the British, is the character creation, which you access by hitting campaign. The introduction is all about choosing your traits, which will help you on the battlefield. And again, I'm just going to kind of break down some of the traits. The primary traits are intelligence, perception, endurance, charisma, and willpower. We'll go ahead and get started real quick with the story.
To do something great. Every day they have a choice: to take a step closer to their destination or to run away. I was the first child in the family.
So you're supposed to be modeling yourself after George Washington. This is really his story.
As the eldest child, I took on much of the responsibility.
We get right here in the top right our first look at the traits. You start off with intelligence. This increases general line of sight and boosts the range attack that units do that are within the general's aura. I personally like the increased damage because it's very noticeable early on when your militia and fusilier regiments are not well experienced or armed. Your next one is perception, and perception boosts a unit's attack, range, efficiency. The best way to describe this stat is increases the effective damage done with each volley. The next one is endurance, which overall increases a unit's efficiency and boosts a unit's condition. The stat off the bat seems really important. However, it is very easy for the general to increase their endurance on the campaign map, which helps a unit. Then we have charisma right here, which boosts a unit's melee attack damage. This stat is very similar to endurance. You're not really good at melee in the beginning, and you want to avoid melee at not all costs, but only when it's engage in it when it's good for you, because you do not have good weapons. The British have better weapons and better experience. And then we have willpower down over here, and willpower boosts your morale regeneration and decreases morale lost while units are being fired at. So very quickly we have a choice over here where you can increase your stats of perception and intelligence. You can do perception and willpower, or have intelligence, endurance, and willpower. My personal choice is, I think the first two choices of perception and intelligence are the better. Perception, intelligence, and perception and willpower are the best. Personally, if I had to choose between the two, I am going to go with perception and intelligence.
At the age of 11, I lost my father, and the responsibility for all family affairs passed to me. Plantation management and financial matters became part of my daily routine.
So as we get a little bit more backstory, we get right here, as we choose everything, our stats are increased or decreased based off what we choose and based off random numbers from events. We have here, now this isn't really a trait for units. This is a trait for your general. The first one is increased spotting range, which sounds nice. However, it's not as good as the command aura. Your general has a command aura. This increases it by 10%. Units who are next to a general in this aura get increased morale regeneration and other perks. The last one is to do your own speed, which increases your speed on the tactical map and on the strategic map. Overall, your general's pretty fast, so you really don't need that.
I spent my adolescence studying and managing the family's plantation.
And as we go through this, we're actually going to have our first negative trait coming up.
My father to me died during our trip to Barbados. His loss affected me greatly.
So you can take an endurance and charisma hit, take an endurance and willpower hit, or just take a straight up endurance hit. I mentioned that endurance is the easiest trait to actually generate back. So I will take the endurance hit, because willpower again is going to reduce the morale regeneration and morale damage that you take, and the loss of charisma will not as bad because you're going to try to avoid melee anyways. You still, if you get into melee situation, because the British will charge you, you do want to have
At the age of
decent
20,
melee.
I was appointed commander of the Virginia Militia.
So we're coming up on a really critical choice right here. You're going to have the chance to increase your units' willpower, to increase their stamina, which is very similar to endurance, or increase their firearms right here. First one is willpower, which will again, this gives them a morale regeneration. A stamina one is very similar to endurance. They're going to be able to have better conditioning and efficiency. But personally, I love this last trait, which provides plus 10 firearms. This is really noticeable going on or starting off in the campaign, that you have civilian muskets and the British have brown besses. They will wipe your soldiers off. By choosing the plus 10 firearms, you really increase your punch.
Capturing several French forts. And in spite of some setbacks, we succeeded in driving out the French. My attempts to secure a commission in the army were thwarted by English officers with little respect for my abilities, so I decided to resign. My next steps were...
So we have a very critical choice right here. So historically Washington does marry a widow, Martha Washington, the First Lady. You can choose to get an extra 10,000 starting currency, which I prefer the most because this allows you to do a few things. One, jumpstart your economy, like building fur trading, merchant stalls, carpenter shops, which are critical later on. And it also allows you to buy from the marketplace Spanish 55, Charleville 66, and Brown Bess 69s, which those weapons will actually help you stand toe-to-toe with the British better. Your next choice is plus 25 reputation. Very similar to Civil War, is you can spend reputation on stuff. In American Revolution, it's mostly related to technology researches. This trait used to be a lot better early on, when you could just research technology without any time requirements. That has since changed. You still can use the reputation for recruiting Native Americans. However, they're kind of costly at the start, which does lead us actually into the third choice you have here, which is minus 20 tension with natives. Now, the only natives that are nearby are the Iroquois. I mentioned they are very costly at the start. In terms of reputation and also currency, they have a weekly currency cost. They are very powerful. However, the best way to really get started in the game in my opinion, is having the extra
Afterwards, I ran for
$10,000.
and was in 1774. There I helped secure.
So we are actually here at our last choice now. You can get a privateer. This is actually a 30-gun warship with 140 crew. It is a pretty good choice. It is not my preferred choice. Navy is still rather expensive to maintain and build up, and the British do heavily outnumber you, even though not as bad as it used to be in earlier parts of the game. Your next choice is, even though it says militia here, this is actually a Fusilier regiment. So you'll have, normally you start off with 2 Fusilier regiments, which are better than your militia, and they can be up or expanded out to 720 men each. They are really good, and I like to use them as kind of like my juggernaut force if I want to take British on early. Your next choice is you get 1,000 muskets, and these are Brown Bess 69s. Of the choices, it is very easy if you are destroying the British on the map that these 1,000 Brown Besses don't get you that far. They help early on, but you're going to get a lot of loot from the British, where I like to have a more permanent thing of having this extra infantry
Tensions
unit.
with England have reached a breaking point. In the near future,
We're finishing
a
up the story
confrontation
here
will
real
break out,
quick.
and
It
I
is
will
going
have to use
through,
all my experience to fight for the independence
wrapping
of the
up the
colonies.
story, giving us our extra traits. Now here we see overall we ended up with 49 intelligence. Now some of these numbers are random. You can end up higher, a little bit lower. 49's usually not that high for me. Perception is 61. It's pretty good overall. Endurance, even with the negative 10 hit, I'm still at 67. Charisma, I'm at 55. And willpower, I am at 65. Now again, I chose leadership, tactics, pessimism, which is the minus 10, the plus 10 firearms, the 10,000 extra currency, and the 1 extra infantry unit. Right here you have the difficulty settings. This is always on the last screen. So if you're on easy, the British Army and Navy are reduced by 50%. You get 25% more recruits and 50% more income, and reputation, like any events, their impact is reduced by 25%. Pretty much halves that on normal. Hard, there is no negative penalties, and on ultimate, the British are a lot stronger. Here, right here, the limited AI reinforcements is what you choose to, if you want to reduce the probability of certain events from triggering. I prefer to play with it because some of them events are overwhelming. They are not as bad as they used to be. But I'll go ahead and wrap this up. This was just kind of a video to summarize some traits for y'all and hope to provide a better understanding. I've been NoSport, and I might see you guys around.